Coming up tonight on Business Live, some oil marketing companies increase fuel prices at the pumps again following reintroduction of stabilization and recovery levy on various petroleum products, with diesel inching closer to 15 cedis per litre. What will be the implication of this on the economy? We shall discuss that with an economist. Also in this bulletin, Cocoa Board confirms government is currently engaging various stakeholders in the cocoa sector and will soon announce an increase in farm gate prices for farmers. We are live with the General Agricultural Workers Union. Plus, Institute of Economic Affairs urges Bank of Ghana to embark on the necessary reforms that will create the fiscal and financial gap needed to enhance the nation's economic growth.
Growth in 2023 was still lower than those recorded in 2021 and in 2022, implying that the economy is still yet to recover from its recent subdued growth state.
Details of these and many more for you. Please stay. Your time, and we begin business from the energy front because some oil marketing companies have started increasing prices of petroleum products at the pumps again. This was after the National Petroleum Authority directed them to reintroduce price stabilization and recovery levy on the various products. George Biafe has more.
Should mean that in just 2 days, the oil marketing companies have adjusted their prices at the pumps by some significant margin. Some of them had begun this review from Wednesday, with most of the big oil marketing companies changing prices at the pumps. However, based on this communication from the National Petroleum Authority, the market leader God is selling a litre of petrol at 14 Ghana cedis 15 pesos, whilst diesel is going for 14 Ghana cedis 74 pesos per litre for both Shell and Total Energies. However, petrol is going for 13 Ghana cedis 90 pesos per litre for Total Energies, whilst Shell is selling a litre of petrol at 14 Ghana cedis 15 pesos. Star Oil, which has always had the lowest values of the pumps, this morning selling a litre of diesel at 14 Ghana cedis 11 pesos, while petrol is going for 13 Ghana cedis 13 pesos. A careful look at the prices posted by most of these oil marketing companies showed that most of them have applied the 16 pesos price stabilization levy on petrol and 14 pesos on diesel.
All right, so we've got to explore this angle further, and let's bring in the views of an economist on the possible impact of this on the economy. Director of ISEP, Professor Peter Quartey, joins us via Zoom for this great engagement. Thanks so much, sir, for your time. Now, should we be worried about this development and its impact, first, transport fares, and even inflation?
Certainly, in this current dispensation, any adjustment can lead to other price build-ups, can affect transport costs, can affect other sectors of the economy. I mean, you know what fuel does. We use fuel for many other things, including powering our manufacturing plants and many others. But you see, currently we are having power outages, and we are told they are temporary. But nevertheless, this is leading to increased use of generators, and you know that is certainly going to affect cost of production. That is certainly going to affect transport fares. It's going to affect many things that we do. So I think we ought to be cautious, in as much as we don't support blanket subsidy, which we are doing, trying to subsidize everybody. And in effect, we tend to subsidize the rich more than the poor. So I have personally not been a favor of subsidies unless we're able to target properly. But I think given the current dispensation, it's certainly going to translate into higher prices and higher cost of transport and affect food prices and many other areas that depends on fuel.
Ultimately, as you've rightly said, this is going to have a larger impact on the economy with respect to this fuel price rise, isn't it?
Oh, yes, certainly. It will translate into some price build-up, although the magnitude is yet to be estimated. But, fuel affects every segment of society: transport fares, food prices, manufacturing businesses, and more importantly, these days that we depend a lot on generators to power plants and even in our homes. I think the effects might be higher than if it had happened previously.
Well, there's been calls for rationalizations of the various petroleum products and taxes as well. I don't know your thoughts on that.
I think I support that rationalization. As I mentioned earlier, any blanket subsidy will not help. It will not help the poor. You see, sometimes the idea or the discussion or the intention is to cushion the poor. But if you have a blanket subsidy that is not targeted, then the poor are going to be much more affected. So the poor takes public transport. The poor use trotros and government buses. So if you want to target the poor, then those are the areas you can target where it will translate into their cost of transportation. But if you have a blanket subsidy on everybody that buys fuel, those driving SUVs will buy more fuel and also enjoy the subsidy. And I don't think subsidy is sustainable. We've seen the Nigerian economy. They used to subsidize fuel so highly that more than, sometimes we're told about half of their revenue goes into subsidy. These days they realize they need to reverse this, and they've taken out subsidy. Many countries done same, and IMF doesn't support this blanket subsidy. So we ought to look at it carefully and rationalize our subsidy regime. If you subsidize electricity, those who use air conditioners and all are the ones who are going to enjoy the most at the expense of the poor.
As we speak, Professor Quartey, what should be government's policy options as we have it now, especially in an economy where you need to raise taxes and, of course, deal with the rising cost of living?
Yeah, so when you raise the taxes, when you're able to raise the taxes, then you cushion the poor. I think that's how it ought to be done. Trying to find ways by which the poor can be subsidized will certainly be the best way to go. But again, having a blanket subsidy will not really target the poor. Raise more revenue. If the poor needs better education, free education, you subsidize education. If the poor need water, provide them with more water. If the poor needs health facilities, better health facilities, or with the national health insurance, the better. Try and provide better health for the poor. I think those are the focus areas rather than having a blanket subsidy for everyone.
All right, so looking at this development, do you think this would have an impact on inflation in the next inflation release?
It will, all things being equal. I mean, if other areas, if food production or other areas do not change, everything held constant, it's certainly translating to higher prices. But, sometimes other areas do better, and so it might try to dampen the effects of the fuel price increase. Otherwise, we will have some effect, except that the effect might not be as huge as one would expect, but there's certainly going to be some increase in inflation. In the past, when we have estimated the pass-through, we saw a 16% increase, contribution to inflation. Not an increase in inflation, but a contribution to inflation. Fuel price adjustments had in the past done so. Currently, I don't know how that estimation may change, but it may have some effect on inflation.
Thank you very much, Professor Peter Quartey. He's an economist and also the director of the Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research, speaking to us there. Let's see how long on this development, because the Chamber of Consumers Ghana, COPEC, is calling for the rationalization of the Price Stabilization and Recovery Levy and the Special Petroleum Tax According to the Executive Secretary of COPEC, Dan Kanamwa, it's about time a broader conversation is had on the purposes of these taxes for consumers.
We are paying for every cost of premix. Meanwhile, premix is sold. Some amount of premix gets back onto the regular white fuel market, ends up in your tank because some of the people who would also live would also find, dubious ways of doing their own thing. So we need to do the chicken and egg thing. One has got to pay for the other. But you cannot as well use the stabilization and recovery levy as a cover, a front, an excuse to continue to collect 16 pesos per liter for petrol, right? Darryl, let me do the math for you. If you do just 10 pesos per liter, with our current consumption of almost 460 million liters, in a given month, you are doing 46 million Ghana cedis. Darryl, that is just for the white product, right? And so if you are doing this, you add LPG, you add the MGO, RFO, and all of them, some of which may not attract anyway. But if you add all of them, you are collecting almost 50 million Ghana cedis, right? In the stabilization alone, if it was just 10 pesos, do half of that more, 70 million Ghana cedis. Are we saying we are subsidizing our fishermen to the tune of 70 million Ghana cedis every single month? That conversation has got to be had. Do we still need to keep the stabilization? If we do, does it have to remain at the rate at which it is? Darryl, secondly, we are also asking that government should take a second look at the special petroleum tax that it collects around 2 pesos. It should also look at the sanitation and pollution levy that it has slapped on all of us at 10 pesos. It should also look at other components of taxing that it has introduced in recent times and see how they can rationalize these taxes to give some relief. Anything other than this, we are simply looking at a situation where diesel could cross 16, 17 in no time. Petrol could also be inching up because, as I indicated, world market prices are going up. The CD is also fast depreciating. The outcome is only one. Prices will go up again.
All right, so let's move away from the petroleum downstream sector and touch on this developing story we are learning. The Ghana Cocoa Board has told Joy Business that government is considering an increase in the farm gate prices of cocoa beans for farmers. The decision, which is currently being deliberated upon by stakeholders in the cocoa sector, is targeted at improving farmers' well-being as well as reduce illegal movement of cocoa beans outside the country to neighboring countries. More in this report.
The reason for this move, according to Cocoa Board, is to help stop smuggling to neighboring countries, particularly Ivory Coast, which has announced a 100% increase in farm gate prices following a surge in global prices of the commodity. Already, Bloomberg is predicting about 50% increase in the prices for farmers. According to Bloomberg, if Ghana, which is the world's second biggest producer of the chocolate ingredient, should proceed with the pay boost, it would mark the first time the country will raise farmers' pay twice during the main crop season, which started last September and ends on June 30. Government has already raised the rate by 63.5% to 20,928 cedis a ton at the beginning of the period. Bloomberg analysis shows that cocoa futures in New York soared to multiple records in recent months after bad weather and disease hurt output from Africa. The rush to secure supplies first pushed prices higher, but futures have now more than doubled this year as margin calls and forced buying put traders under stress.
I want us to go on Zoom and speak to the General Secretary of the General Agricultural Workers Union, Dr. Edward Kariwe. Thanks so much, Mr. Kariwe, for your time. Now, looking at the increase of global prices of cocoa, do you believe that a 50% increase really is fair?
Well, let me say good evening to you, and I'm excited to be on your program and then to share my thoughts on this very important topic. In this world, when it comes to international trade and relations, we are looking at interest. And Ghana at all times must always be looking at our interest. The dynamics at the international trade level has reached a point where the consumer
has lost control over the right to dictate producer price. You know, so what we know is that when it comes to cocoa and many other commodities, instead of the producer dictating the price, it is rather the consumer. So if today the consumer is chasing our cocoa to the extent that we now have the international price rising from 2,000 to over 10,000 cedis, we must be at a position of strength and we must take advantage of that and then reap in more money. If we are able to do this successfully, I'm telling you that all our problems that are associated with our going to the IMF to be taken about $3 billion and the rest and so on, and then the installments of 300 to 600 million and the rest, we will simply not have done that. So we should take advantage of it and then make sure that we indeed purchase more cocoa, supply more cocoa, and then to benefit from the astronomical well price of cocoa.
And Dr. Kariwe, as we speak, Ivory Coast, for instance, has increased its prices by 100%. Do you think that this will serve as a disincentive to Ghana and, of course, cause smuggling?
In any case, why should Ghana not even increase our cocoa producer price by more than 100%, up to 150%? So we want to make sure that we have the beans. Now, if you do the cost-benefit analysis, if you increase the producer price by 150%, as against 100% by Cote d'Ivoire, and then we retain the beans, you know, in our country, and then we even get smuggled beans from Cote d'Ivoire, even though smuggling, whatever form it is not good. But let's limit ourselves that the beans that we produce in Ghana will no longer be smuggled to Burkina Faso. It will no longer be smuggled to Cote d'Ivoire. It will no longer be smuggled to Togo. And retain all these beans. Then we can sell it at this high price, then pay for the cost of the 150%, and then we have enough to save for for other projects. So I think this is what we have to do. It's not even about 100%. We should increase our prices by 150%.
Why so?
I'm saying that it is so because when you do it by 150%, then it will be attractive. Ghana's price will be above that of Cote d'Ivoire and will be above any other country's price, particularly with countries that are bordering us, like Togo, Burkina Faso, and so on. Therefore, we retain all beans, cocoa beans that we have in this country. They will no longer be smuggling. There will no longer be any incentive to smuggle the beans to Togo or Burkina Faso. Therefore, we now have enough beans to be able to sell at the international market at that high price of over $10,000 per ton. And that is a business strategy. And as a country, we must look at our interest. And international trade is talking about interest, and it's not talking about morality. It's not talking about fairness. It's talking about how much you can reap at a particular time. Look, let me cite that. Some years back, around the 1980s, when fuel prices had gone up, Nigeria took advantage of that. And then, because they are oil-producing country, and we're able to reap in a lot of money and build a new hotel. If we have enough money today, Ghana can go on to talk about far-reaching projects like building underground trains, that is metro, and then building trains throughout the country, and then also be thinking about even a new capital. We all know that Accra is congested because Accra, as it stands now, part of it befits a modern capital of a country, but some parts do not do that. So we can be thinking about even building another capital. But we only need to think about that when we have the money.
All right.
This is the opportune time for us to do so.
In a minute, we've seen production of cocoa go down during the 2022-2023 crop season. Do you think that an increase in prices will help recover the post-production levels we've recorded over the period?
Certainly, if you look at the downturn of cocoa production, it's as a result of the competitive alternative areas of production. For instance, if you do galamsey in the cocoa growing areas, you have better returns than continue to be in cocoa. And you in the media will tell us that, of course, we had one video which was circulating that a farmer said that he will cut down his cocoa and sell his farm up for galamsey because out of what he did, he was able to build 2-bedroom house, and so for his whole life he was not able to do that. So again, if you make cocoa price attractive, then there will not be any motivation for cocoa farmers to sell their farms out to galamsey. And then those who are already in galamsey and think that cocoa is not an alternative area will run back to cocoa and begin to preserve the land by way of growing cocoa. So you can see that this is the best way to do for this country. And of course, the opportunity has come and we must take advantage of it.
All right. Thank you very much, General Secretary, or Executive Secretary, I should say, of the General Agricultural Workers Union, Dr. Edward Kariwe, for your time here on Business Live. Now, the Institute of Economic Affairs has urged the Bank of Ghana to embark on the necessary reforms that will create the fiscal and financial gap needed to enhance the nation's economic growth. According to the Director of Research at IEA, Dr. John Kwache, the nation is still yet to recover from the downward growth trajectory recorded in the last 2 years. Here's more. All right, we shall bring you that story subsequently. But quickly to one of our headline stories we've lined up for you. Kenya's President William Ruto says Ghana, just like many African countries, is still the future of investment and economic opportunities. It says the African is a home to the world's largest producers deposits, while estimates also suggest that the geographical region will have the largest market size by 2050. Speaking at the Ghana-Kenya summit here in Accra as part of his state visit to Ghana, Kenya's president noted that any investor looking to grow their venture or their business cannot overlook Ghana and other African countries. And that's how we part company here on Business Live with me, Pius Kojo Baka. For more stories, do log on to myjoyonline.com/business. Great stories on the portal. If you go to the business portal, you see great stories lined up for you. NPA reverses suspension of price stabilization and recovery levy on petroleum products. Also on that portal, BOG cautions banks to comply with monthly reporting of fraud cases. Great stories lined up on that portal for you. See you same time tomorrow. Bye-bye.